So, Michael, do you mind kind of running us through that first case, the Florida case, and kind of talking about its particulars and why this is looking to be kind of the start of the concern when it comes to how we go about our laws in this post-Roe world?
Yeah, so I think, as always, it's important to remember that when the media, especially the mainstream media, reports on things, they usually don't give the entire picture.
Hmm.
Um, and so you kind of have to do some independent research to find out more things. Some of the basic facts on this one, it's Florida v. Jane Doe 22B. That's how it was written in the court. Says that if a minor wants to obtain an abortion, that they have to get parental consent or guardian consent if they're in the care of the state. So this girl, 16, almost 17, doesn't have parents or is living without parents under the guardianship of the state. She's living with a relative, but not the guardian, and experienced some trauma. I believe a friend had died very recently before she decided that she did not want to get an abortion. And she essentially is saying, I'm not mature enough to do this. I don't have the financial means. The father doesn't have the means to support me or the baby. She doesn't have a job. She's still in school. A whole list of things that you would expect from a 16, 17-year-old minor to have issues with and be dealing with. And so she sought to essentially do a judicial bypass of requiring consent of her guardian. She stated that the guardian was on board with whatever her decision was and that she had the full support. The judge noted times that she was credible, open, non-evasive. But part of the problem with getting the waiver for bypassing the waiver requirement was that she had to prove that she was mature enough in the court's eyes, and they looked at it, is that she had mentioned before that she was okay with having the child and kind of changed her mind. The judge thought maybe the recent trauma of losing a friend was impacting the decision. And the judge did note that while she said the guardian had no issues, if the guardian didn't have any issues, she should have provided, or they should have provided, a notarized written waiver of consent for the minor to receive the abortion, which the minor did not have. And she also did not have a lawyer present, even though under the statute it's free of charge because of her situation. I will say that it is important that the judge found without prejudice, which essentially means that she can reappeal to do the judicial bypass, not requiring a waiver, or she can just get the waiver from her guardian, and she won't even have to go to court if she has that consent. But probably the issue with this, though, is that Florida is a 15-week abortion rule.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she's at 10 weeks right now. So that's only a very short window to try and either go back to court or get the written notarized consent from her guardian. They didn't really go over specifics of if that is difficult for her to get. But I can say, if you're 16 or 17, you may not know where to get to a notary. There's a whole bunch of issues about paying for a notary. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different problems that you could run into.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part is if she doesn't get it within the next, I'd say probably 4 weeks, a month, then she may not be able to get it at all and then be stuck with having a child, which the court has acknowledged she probably isn't ready, but doesn't quite meet that maturity threshold that they're looking for. And unfortunately, in the way the American common law system works, trial courts are given vast, deference when it comes to adjudicating issues that it's really difficult to win on appeal or all the way up through the state court and even to the federal courts. So it could pose problems if they could use this as, oh, this person is not mature enough, even though it seems fairly clear that she's not mature enough and presents a good case for not being mature, that lawyers or the state legislature could use this as kind of a jumping off point to either make further restrictions about abortion or kind of use this as, hey, the next time a 15-year-old comes up and wants an abortion, they're like, well, this minor hit all these boxes and still wasn't mature enough. You don't even come close. We're just going to toss this case out.
Yeah, this case really caught my attention, and it really just felt like this is one of those very ominous kind of stepping forward as we move through this kind of new world and new era that we're in, because it's one of the areas where law seems to be lacking the level of empathy that it needs to have, because that is, I think, one of my biggest complaints with the legal system is that there is such a lacking of empathy when it comes to this. Because to say that she's too immature to get an abortion, but mature enough to go through the entire process of a pregnancy, all of the risks, all of the cost, and then the possibility that, she'll have to put the child up for adoption, which seems very likely if she isn't able to get this repetitioned for this decision. So it's just as a woman, as a human, this just is very concerning to me on that particular level, because it feels like this is showing that the courts are going to have, especially depending on which state you are in and which laws are in place. Like you said, Florida has this 15-week timeline, very similar to Mississippi, which is the case that ultimately got Roe and Casey overturned, having that 15-week limitation. So it's just one of those things where I get very concerned with kind of the forward moving process of our legal system when it comes to women making this decision for themselves. I am really glad that she will have the opportunity to repetition this, but like you said, the time frame for this, the bureaucratic court system doesn't move expeditiously. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of where this case goes, because I do think personally it has a lot of possibility for some kind of possibly sad repercussions that come from this.